recording. So I'm recording now. So turn off your camera if you don't want your video on the recording. This is Junior Developer Happy Hour. I'm not sure if there's anybody new here. There's a lot of familiar names in the chat. So what's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having a good Sunday. We have a festival going on in Tulsa. So May Fest. So there's a bunch of food trucks and bands playing and stuff. So got out of the house today. But now it's time to code. So we'll see. Keep you posted the links twice. Those are all the links. Connect with me on LinkedIn if you want. Slack we use to communicate. It's been kind of dead lately because we haven't been doing the AMAs, but I'm always in there. So you can, if you want to chat or just post memes.
Any idea when the AMAs might come back, Sam?
I don't know. I think we're just busy and like things are opening up again. So like,
yeah,
we're like, I don't know if we do bring it back, if we're gonna keep doing it on Saturdays because the attendance kept going down, even though we were having like super awesome guests like B Dougie. So I don't know. We gotta think about it. But yeah, let's see. So this week we're gonna do this hold shift to check multiple checkboxes. First of all, we're back to we're gonna have to do some refactoring to Reactify this. So we're back to that. So that's a little fun always. I think just taking some vanilla HTML, CSS, and converting it to React in like a nice way to manage it. So let me get the sandbox set up. So as always, new sandbox, React. Let me get the live link for you all. So if people want to join in, we can tag people in if people want to code. If not, you can just hang out, ask questions. But that's the live link. It probably shows up better too. I think Kiki was complaining last week about the it not being clear. So I don't know what it looked like to you guys. So you guys gotta say stuff in the chat if like you can't see something on the screen or whatever. But if you go to the live link, it should be crystal clear because you're in the same thing that I'm in. So let's pop this open. And before we get started, any like quick questions about like previous weeks or some like basic questions about JavaScript 30? Some people I know hopefully have either done it in the past or are doing it along with us, because I suggest you do the JavaScript 30 like in vanilla JS if you haven't done it yet. So yeah, there's no questions. Let's start with CSS. Like always, that's the easiest thing. Just copy pasta this stuff. Let's copy pasta. What oh, this is the starter code too. So let me give you that if you wanna like check out the code if you wanna code along too in like your own sandbox or whatever. Or so here's the CSS. Let's see. And then we go here. Ooh. I'm just gonna dump it all in here. Okay, we got all that. And then let's get this code, and we're gonna have to clean this up because with React, we can just make an array of inputs. So right now it's totally broken because as we saw the other week, like Code Sandbox, it like blows up if you have an input and it doesn't have the self-closing tag on it. It just blows up the whole code editor. I think we ran into that the other week for people that were here. So we're gonna have to do some cleaning up. I think we this week, like since we have the checkboxes, like if you wanna, it should look like this. Like there's a checkbox and there's like, it's kind of like a to-do list, I guess it could be like a simplified to-do list. So what I'm thinking is we make an array of let's call it list items. So I'm just gonna start with what should we call it? Items. Let's call it items. I don't know what to call it. And then let's try to do like a keyboard shortcut to chop this up. Let's see. So let's do copy paste this, Command D a bunch of times. And then let's see if we can do Command Shift. Oh, look at that. Then let's cut all that stuff. Almost got there. Let's see. Let's go back. Let's try that again. So if I select all the P's, I'm just trying to find a shortcut to do it just for fun. And so if we, oh, why did it do that? Let's try this. There we go. I went too far, but who cares? So let's do that. Let's add the, I messed it up. Let's see, can do this. Okay, that's pretty good. I don't know a quick way to do it. Oh, I guess we could do this. Voila. Okay.
What key are you hitting, Sam, to hit all those like that? I've never seen that one.
So it's like, I look for a pattern. So these are all similar. They're all wrapped in P tags. So I did Command D to like select all the P tags. Or like one by one, I just kept pressing it. And then like to go to the end of the line, you can do Command Shift right arrow. And then if you press the right arrow again, it makes it so the whole line is not selected. So I can just like delete like the ending part, because if the whole line is selected and you hit back, it's gonna delete the whole line, right? But I wanted to delete the front part because I didn't want that. I wanted to put a quote instead of that. And I wanted to delete the end part and put a quote and comma. So
okay.
let's get rid of all this stuff. So class name. So, and then I'm gonna get us started a little bit, and then I'll tag somebody in if somebody wants to jump in. But the way I'm thinking is like, we're gonna make controlled inputs. So, you know, we're gonna keep track of like what's checked and not, because we need to do that in order to be able to do like the exercises. You hold shift, like if you click one and then you hold shift, and then say I select the second one, and then I hold shift and then I select the fifth one, we wanna check the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. In order to do that, it has to be a controlled component. So we're gonna have to keep track of each input state, whether it's checked or not, because we're gonna pass in the value to the input, whether it's checked or not. And so each of these items is gonna be an object. So I have to do that Command D trick again, because I wanna be like, I wanna have the text and I wanna keep track of the state if it's checked or not. So first of all, let's put this outside. So again, this example is kind of contrived because it's a static list. We're not making a full to-do app where you can add like new things, but it would take too long. That's why if we added in all that extra stuff. So this week we're just gonna have a static list just to like try and figure out how to do this exercise. The first step that I'm thinking is we just get it to work normally, that you can check it and uncheck it, but forget about the shift and check. Once we do that, then we can figure out the shift and select multiple checkboxes. So let's see. So first of all, we're gonna need to do our little trick again. So do, that doesn't work. How can I do, I think you can alt click. Yeah, so you can alt click also to just click and create multiple cursors. And then I want to put these in an object, and then Command Shift right arrow to go to the end. And then, oh wait, I don't want to go to the end yet. I want to put text. And then I want to go to the end. Oh, come on. So there we go. What does it, oh, I messed up the last string though. So like that, but then also I want to add in whether it's checked or not. So let's see, what's the easiest way to do that? Let's do this. We'll start them all off as false. And then let's do, let's keep these in state. Default items. And then we'll say items, set items equals use state default items. Okay, we gotta import use state. And then we'll say import use state from React. Okay. Does anybody want to try and since I set up the boilerplate, try to render using a mapping function to render each input? I can get like it should be something like this. So I'm just gonna comment it out on the bottom. If that's kind of like the template, what each item should look like. Does anybody want to try and do that part? Or do you want me to just do it? Up to you guys.
I can give it a shot.
Okay, awesome.
Let me go over.
Are you on here? I forgot what your username
I
is.
should be on here. It should be like A man, AE man, something like that.
Yeah, okay. I got you on there. And then does anybody have any questions? I kind of just did that real fast, but like about like what the plan is. I want to first get our inputs to work, make sure our controlled inputs work. So when you check it, it checks it. And when you uncheck it, it unchecks it. I guess the first step is just to get them to render on the screen. That's what Adam's doing for us right now.
So do we want each of these items to be its own div?
Yeah. So that template I used at the, you can just copy and you can uncomment that text that I put and then just
put it up there.
Or you can, yeah.
Uh-oh, I think I'll figure it out. I messed up here.
Yeah, well, I kind of just pasted it in a janky way.
Yes. I'm trying to learn to use Vim, and this is not the best time to learn to use it when people are watching me stumble through this.
Yeah, also because I can't help you with that because I don't use Vim. I know the basic commands.
Yeah.
So
what am I doing here? Do I have an extra? I think I've got an extra one of these.
No, but you're missing the return statement since you put the curly brackets in.
That's right. Okay. Yep.
You can either, yeah.
Whoa.
And then you gotta fix the input so it's self-closing. Remember, we have that problem with
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Try hit save now. It should
Yeah.
prettify.
I think it's
There you
doing
go.
that. Now we need to actually do item checkbox, and this should be text. That needs to go in curly brackets since we're doing
Yeah, and
um
you can just let's destructure it too, just to like make
okay.
it more terse.
Okay.
Let's destructure the text and the checked property. Oh, you can destructure it right in line on line 24. So we don't need item, that's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So instead of item, put an object there. And
yeah, no, I got it. Okay, item. And then
oh, not item, text and checked.
text, yep. There we go. And then that should be text.
And then on the input, I think you should be able to do checked. I'm not 100% sure, right? I always like Google everything when I'm doing it, but I think that should work.
And then that would be
okay. So
yeah, like let me test that real quick.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Let's see. Did you hit save?
Yeah, I hit saved.
Let me hit refresh. Because it works.
Did that work? Oh, it's not working on my, I guess I didn't refresh on my end. Oh, I got it. Yep. Okay, cool.
Yeah, because right now it was the hot reloading wasn't reloading the initial state, so we need to refresh. So it's complaining about class. So this thing we gotta fix.
Class name, yeah.
So let's see how many errors we went down.
And then we don't have the key set to the index.
Oh yeah, you want to add that?
Complaining about that, yeah. And then so we'll do
just do the index. We're gonna need the index anyways because we need that. At least for what I'm thinking, how we can do the shift click, we'll need the index.
So like that?
Yeah.
That work? Okay.
So let's see how many errors we got now. So down to 1, and it's just complaining about the on-change handler because we need a on-change handler. Like right now, when you click, look, it doesn't update. Like I'm clicking,
yeah,
but it's not checking because we're doing a controlled component. And when you do a controlled React component, it's up to you to make sure when you click, you set the right prop to the checked value to checked for that thing.
Okay.
So the first of all,
does someone else want to do the on click or should I? I could.
Let's see if anybody has questions first.
Yeah,
somebody is saying we can use UUID, but for this example, like, yeah, we don't need to. Maybe if this list was able to, like, if you were able to sort it or like add and delete stuff, then we would probably do that. But like in our like simple example, we're just working with a static list because the main thing we're trying to figure out is, well, one, we're reviewing just how to do like controlled inputs. But the main purpose of this JavaScript 30 was the learning how to like shift click things to like select multiple things. And then, so just to keep things simple, we're just gonna use index. Like whenever we're doing this, we always wanna try to like keep it simple. I think I mentioned it a bunch of times that we're not writing production code. We're just like hacking and like, trying to like.
I remember this lesson when I watched him do it, kind of blew my mind the way he does it in vanilla JavaScript. It was pretty complicated. So hopefully it'll make more sense with the React version.
I think it's a little clear. It's cleaner with React.
Cleaner? Cool.
I think. Well, in my head, I watched the video, and in my head, the code that I thought of is cleaner. But who knows if the code that was in my head works? I didn't actually try it out. So we'll see. Does anybody have any questions about what Adam just did? About how we got all this stuff to render on the screen? And it looks nice just because we copied, like Wes Boss did all the styles already. We just copied it. Okay, if there's no questions, does somebody else want to try and do the on-change handler to be able to uncheck so we can check and uncheck the checkboxes? Anybody?
Do you just create a constant function that set item and then the item dot check?
So yeah, we need on-change handler so that when the input is changed, we need to handle that. So you need the on-change handler. That's what this error is telling us, like what to do. It's saying you have a controlled checkbox which has a checked prop, and you're missing the on-change handler. So without the on-change handler, it's never going to be able to. You're never going to be able to change the value of the checked.
Can I try? I don't know what I'm doing, but can I try?
Yeah. Yeah, so you need on change, like that's why the error is telling you which handler to like put on it.
Right here, right?
Yep, yep.
Be reset items of current. Is it items?
No, you're gonna have to do some work because
Oh.
you're gonna have to reset the whole array, but you only want to update one of the items in the array. So
right.
we're gonna pass a whole new array with one of the items checked values updated. So let me jump in real quick just to show you. Also, I'm gonna rename this to toggle check because I'm like thinking ahead. Like when we do the check multiple, it's not gonna make sense to call the handler toggle check because we're not in the special case when you shift click. It's not exactly toggling the check. It's selecting. It's checking multiple checkboxes. So I'm gonna just make it more generic just so that we can reuse the same function. So I'm just gonna call it handle change. So then the name is generic and it makes sense for both scenarios. At least to me it does. And then I'm gonna console log some stuff just so we can see like I think it's e dot current target. Oh, I just turned on Siri by accident. Let's see. So current target dot checked, I think. Let's see. Oh, what did I do? Let's say cannot read property map of undefined. What did I break? Oh, because we're setting items. I don't want to do that. If we were setting it to like a Boolean or to some value instead of a new array. So let's see what happened when I click here. So you can see it says true because I clicked the checkbox when it was false, and now the value is true. But we also need to know what index, which input we're clicking on. So we can't just put in handle change here. We gotta also pass in the index. So we have the index here, right? So we can do this. We can say the function gets E and we call handle change with, instead of E, I'm gonna say checked and also index. And then I'm gonna hand this back over to you, Kiki, but I'm gonna see if people have questions about this. Oh, sorry. E dot and target.
Cool.
Wait, hold on one second. So E dot target dot checked, and then let's do our trick from last week where we do that, and then let's clear this. And now when we do this, we can see I checked the checkbox at index 4. Okay, any questions about what we just set up?
So Sam, since you need to, I guess, the parent element, the div class name item, would that index just kind of be inherited by that child input, since to, I guess, that parent for that particular element or index?
What do you mean?
Meaning, you know how you have the key as index on the parent on the in the input on the class name item.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I guess my question is, I was on the assumption you didn't need to pass an index to that child input tag, but I was just curious if that's the case, because I was assuming put on the parent that the child would inherit that particular index value.
No, your HTML nodes will not inherit anything you have on like parent nodes. You don't just inherit all the properties as you like go down. So
Also, we're going to
So,
use
the-
that index. We're going to use that index when we do the what is it called, the spread operator for the that's how we're going to find the item within the, when we use the spread operator to rewrite the array, right? Isn't that like kind of the main reason we're using that index?
yeah, and we're also going to need it when we do the shift click. We're
Yeah.
gonna need to know we're gonna need more state to do the shift click. I don't want to go into that yet because like that might confuse people who don't understand this first part yet.
Yeah.
So this first part is just saying when we're mapping it, we have the index. It's telling us when it renders this, the first item it renders is going to be 0, which is going to be this first one. Second one's going to be 1. And since our list is just static, we know in the array, like that index correlates to where it is in the array in our state. So in order for our function to have that value, we got to pass it into the function. So I'm passing in 2 values, which is the new checked value and the index of that item. So Kiki, we're combining this week, we're combining a bunch of stuff that we learned in like past weeks. Now, since we're on week 10, every week we're learning like little bits and pieces. And this week kind of combines like stuff we learned in like the other week. So people who have been coming every week are more up to date, I think, on like what we're doing. Kiki, you want to give it a shot? Like, how can we update whatever object we clicked on? We have the index for it, right? Remember when we did like the array week and we learned like the array methods?
Should I be using filter to if it match?
Well, we don't have to do filter. We could just like, we could do map, right? Because we can do map and then you can just set items, because map returns a new array. So you don't have to spread what Adam was saying we might have to spread. That's one way to do it. But if you use map, you don't need to spread because map returns a new array. And when you map, you're just transforming each object, each item into a new item. And what you want to do is, if the index matches, you just want to return that item. We don't want to change it. But if the index matches, then we want to set the checked to whatever the checked value is that was passed into this this array?
Map. My mind's a little blown right now. Let's see. I map the item then. Let's see. Do I, so I don't need to spread it?
Somebody's asking about filter, but you can do it in many different ways, but map is the most succinct way because all you do is you call map and that's it. You're mapping each item and you're saying, don't change these items, just pass that item back. But if the index matches, update the check value. So it's, in my opinion, that's the cleanest way to do this.
Yeah, filter would be taking stuff out. Like if we wanted to remove something from the array, that's when you would use filter, right? And this is like, we just want to change one little thing.
Yeah.
Can somebody guide me?
You want to try, Adam?
Yeah, let's see if I could figure this out. Let's see. So we're mapping the item.
And the logic I said is if the index matches, then update the check value of that item. If the index doesn't match, then just return the item.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of how to get the index.
You put the index in and then
I can't do this live. I'm so bad at doing this live.
Okay. Here,
I need to get better at this.
I can jump in and help just so we can get to the end because it's 8:30. Okay, so we have the item, right? And then we have let's do this. Clicked item index, and then we'll call it index in here. And then we'll say, so if clicked item index equals index, then we just return the item. But
yeah, okay.
Other than that, then we spread the item and we update the check value. Let's see if that works. Nope. What did I do? Oh, I didn't call set items. So let's see. Once new items, updated items equal that. Oops. Okay. Oh, I did it. My logic's backwards.
Backwards. Yeah.
So if I did it the opposite way. Oops. So if it's refresh.
This is
there. So now it's working. So I did that super fast. So does anybody have any questions about what I did? Like any specific part or like, because what I did is I said, if it matches the index, the clicked index matches the current index that I'm mapping over, I'm gonna return whatever values is in the object. Right now it's text, but I did the spread just because like, what if we add more stuff to the item, right? Then I don't need to update the code because I want all the values in the item to be the same except the checked value. The checked value is this new checked value that's coming in. And if the index doesn't match, I don't want to update the item. I just want to return the same value that item already was.
And that checked is a shorthand, isn't it? Because it's the same name, the variable is the same name as it is in the object. So you only need to do one.
It's shorthand for that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I guess for me is, I guess spread operator. I'm trying to understand where, I guess, how did we come up with, use the word item? in the spread operator, is that just a new variable that we're calling it, or are we?
Yeah,
is that
that's a
kind of- oh,
local. We're calling each
Okay.
item that we're mapping over. We're just calling it an item.
okay. Okay.
Because we called the array items, and then when we're mapping over, you can name this whatever you want. You can name this A and D F if you want, and that's still gonna work. But then that's not very readable, right?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about anything? So right now, this is like working. Like if we did controlled inputs, like it works. But we also want to be able to do like, if I check the checkbox and then I hold shift and then I click this one, I want all these to be checked when I do that. So the only scenario we want to do that is if we check one and then we hold shift when we check another one. We don't want to like uncheck multiple. I don't think that's a normal pattern for you to like uncheck one and then shift click and it like unchecks all of them. Maybe it is, I don't know. We'll have to check like Gmail or something if that is a thing, but just to keep it simple, at least, we're only gonna do one case. So this handle change function works normally as long as we're not at the case where we're, the first requirement is that we're checking a checkbox. The second requirement is that there must be like a last checked checkbox. If those two requirements are met, then we want to check all the checkboxes in between those two indexes. Does that make sense? Also, before we go on, do you understand the map, Kiki?
Yeah, like it's hard to write like this because right now my brain still function on like I need to map and spread out everything and then filter. So like it's good to see that you can directly just map in this simple writing. Like because
what do you mean map and filter? Like you don't need to map and filter when we want the exact same. You only map and filter when you want a different amount of items. Or you only want a subset of the items. That's what filtering is for. Mapping is one-to-one transformation of whatever you're mapping over. So you don't need any other maps. Specific purpose is you use it to transform something one-to-one with another thing. Same thing we're doing here. We're transforming each of these objects into this new React element.
Yeah,
right?
this is very
and in this case, we're mapping each of these to the same thing it already was, unless the click index matches, then we're updating the checked value for that object. Does that make sense? Okay.
do more. Write more.
Okay. Does anybody want to attempt this like harder part? Do you want to attempt to do it, Adam? You watched the video.
No, I remember this being really difficult in the video. I'm not gonna be able to do this.
Does anybody else want to attempt? What about you, Kevin? You haven't said anything. Nice to see you, by the way. I don't know if you're
yeah,
live.
I'm here. I'm still thinking about like how to implement it. Like I guess like I didn't watch the video or anything, so this is just like
okay.
a random guess.
Okay.
So I was thinking of doing something similar to like a use effect, and then just adding an event listener to the window in the sense of like adding a shift, like listening for the shift down press.
Let me just go over it then. It's easier if you watch the video because he kind of like
okay.
It's simpler than that. You don't need to do all
I watched the video like 2 months ago too, so I can't. I'm not. I just remember my impression of the video.
Yeah. So let's see if I remember. I watched the video today. Let's see. Like he does it in like if you look at it, we can look at it. I think we can do it in a simpler way. So
just to make sure.
Like he's doing
Sam,
all this stuff. And I think we can simplify it a little bit. Like we can make use of guard clauses again, like we did. So we're reusing all the little pieces that we learned like the other weeks. What are you gonna say, Coriano?
I was gonna say, so we're using like the shift tab, correct?
Not shift tab, just shift key. So like when you're
okay.
when you click and then I hold shift and I click something else. There's no tab key.
Oh, okay. So in that case, could we use the I believe it's the key object or the key object?
It's called shift key, I think, if I remember correctly. So we'll see.
Okay.
So let's see. So our change, we passed in a bunch of stuff. How come this whole thing's selected? Let's see. Oh, is somebody selecting this whole thing?
Kiki. I see like dueling.
Oh. So let's see. So let's refactor this a little bit now because I need more stuff out of the E. So let's pass in the whole E event because I need more of it. So let's do this and then let's pass in E and let's just do let's see if I broke anything. Okay, so now that I'm thinking like we need the shift key, and I think if I remember, it was E dot shift key. Let's see if I remember. So let me hold shift and click. Oh, let's go look what he did. Let's see. This is E dot shift key. Maybe it's on the native event. Let's see. Because I'm holding shift. Maybe it's E dot native event. Remember, we had to do the native event the other week for the people that were here. There we go. So when I don't hold shift, it's false. When I hold shift, it's true. So this value is on the native event. So the people who weren't here that week when we were going over React wraps the native mouse event, like the clicks that you make or the change events or whatever event, React wraps that native event that normally you get in vanilla like JavaScript. And they add certain things onto the event. And then if you want to access all the native event properties, they save it under this property called native event. So if you want to find out if the shift key is clicked, it seems like you have to grab it off of the native event. I don't think it's on the JavaScript, the React wrapped event. So at least it seems to be working. So we got to think about this. The only time we want to do that, like check multiple checkboxes, is if where checked needs to be true and there needs to be a last checked checkbox, and we need to be holding the shift button. So all those three things need to be true. Otherwise, we just do this. So first of all, if we got to remember if something was previously checked, like we got to check if the last action was like checking a checkbox. So we need to like cache that somehow. So we need to like store it in state, I'm thinking. I don't know what do people think about that. Like we have to know if the last action was checking a checkbox. And if we do, we have to know, we need to know the index of the last checkbox. So let's see. I don't even know if we'll be able to finish this this week. We'll see. So let's do last item. Item. So I'm thinking we just whenever we like update the items, we also update the last item, and then we can check if the last item was checked. And if it was checked, then we can get the index of that checked item. So let's just do no, because there's no last item. And then we can do, let's see. So here, we're gonna have to do, this is gonna have to be, we're gonna have to add more logic in here, I'm thinking. So let's see. I don't wanna perform a side effect in the map. So how do we find out which item? Okay, I got it. So we can find the index. We have the index of the clicked item. So after we have the updated items, we can just say up the updated item. So readability is a little hard because we're calling this updated items and updated item, but I don't know what else to call it. So I'm just gonna call it that for now. Updated items that find, and then we can say what is it called? Clicked. So if I want to just console log this, oh, updated item, updated item. So let's do that. And then we can do this, and then I'll do this. And then you can see it gave me the updated item, but and then we can just cache that updated item. So I can actually just do set last, let's call it last updated item. Last updated item.
Instead of find, you can also do updated items of index, right?
What is that? Of index?
Yeah, updated items square bracket, and then
Oh,
click out of index.
yeah, good call. I was over engineering that. Thanks. Now I don't need this. Oh, wait, this is updated items. I don't need this whole thing. So now let's try console log last updated item. So it's no, but then if I click this, I can see the last updated item was everything in between should also be checked, set to checked, and we checked it. So that's what we need, right? That's the first part of the equation. We need to check if the last updated item was checking something. And in order to get the index, we can just, since like all the text is different. So again, we're just hacking. Like in the real world, you need to check the business logic. If these texts are not, if you can't ensure that they're all different, then you can't do this logic that we're gonna do, because we're gonna just search for the text by the text to get the index. So I'm just, this is just like a hack. You shouldn't do this in production. In production, each item would most likely have a UUID, like somebody was saying before, but I forget. what they were saying. Lots of DAW allow you to click and drag to check as well. Yeah, we're not going that far. We don't have that much time. We have like 10 minutes left. So I don't have to go. So does anybody have any questions now? So we're one step further. We know what was the last item that was applied. We know if I uncheck it, we'll see, oh, I deleted the console log. So now if I do this, we can see that I checked it. And when I do it again, we can see that the last item was the same item, but I unchecked it.
You removed that code, but I was curious what the underscore comma was that you passed in to, I guess, as a parameter.
It's just a convention when you don't want to use that parameter, because if there's two items, but I don't want to use this one, as a convention, a lot of people just put underscore, meaning like ignore. I don't care about this parameter. You got to name it something. That's why JavaScript requires that you name it something.
Oh, okay.
So if like you only want the index, some people just put an underscore to mean like, I don't want to name this, just ignore it. That's why I'm calling it an underscore.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay. Any other questions before we go along? And we can just keep hacking for as long as people can stay. We can finish this up this week. I think we're almost there. Any other questions though before I move on? Nope. Okay. So let's see. Instead of doing a guard clause, let's make two separate functions. So let's do, this is gonna be the normal case, and then we'll have one case which is update single item, and then we'll say, I don't know what parameters we're gonna have in it yet. And then we'll have an update multiple items, I think. So let's refactor this like single item case first. So in the single item, we need to know, let's see, we need to know let's just pass in we know that works. So then we'll say, let's say, yeah, I don't want to think about it too much since we're running out of time. So I'm just gonna do that. And then I'm gonna say, the single item. Let's make sure I didn't break anything. So come back here. Still working. Okay. So now we can put in our if statement. So we'll have an if statement that says, if last updated item dot checked, that's saying if the last updated item was checked and the current value is checked. So we need this here. And we're currently checking a new item. So if the last item was checked and we're currently checking the new item, then we want to do this multiple items. So we'll do checked else. We're doing this. So we're doing that, and then I'm gonna, just to make sure I'm sitting out, I'm gonna put a to do here. So this is my normal process. Like if I'm hacking at work, this is what I'm doing. I'm just like putting all my ideas, and I put implement Oh, I don't even need the to here. I already made the function. So do this. So let's see. Click item index, and then in here, like I'll put to do implement. Implement check-in. So like if it was the end of the day at work, I'm just kind of showing you my process. Like if I was hacking and I was like getting towards the end of the day, I would like just commit like a whip commit, and I would put in this to do to remind me like what I have to do the next day. I put implement checking multiple items or something like that. That's what I would do. So let's see. So as I'm coding this stuff out, I always just like throw a bunch of my ideas on the page. And then before I go too far, I just make sure I don't break stuff. So I just changed a bunch of stuff, make sure I didn't break anything. If you have tests that can help, like you don't have to manually test it as much like I'm doing. If you have automated tests that are just running as you update the code, then you can just see if it just keeps staying green, then you can just keep going. But like we don't have any tests, so I'm just manually testing it. So let's see. This looks like we already got this checked value. So what if we just, do we need the e.target? Looks like we can just pass in checked. Now we can just do that. Checked. Oops. For this one, let's see. Okay. So for that one, we just need the checked value. For multiple items, okay. We also want to only do the multiple items if they're also holding e.native event.shift key. So I'm putting the logic here. So the only time we want to execute this update multiple items is when the last item I checked something. I currently am checking something. So I'm checking something now. I previously checked something and I'm holding the shift key now. As long as those three things are present, then I want to update multiple items. If not, I just want to do the normal update single item, which we implemented first. So for updating multiple items, we need to know the last item click index, the current item click index, and that's it. So let's see what we need to pass in here. We don't need the, we only need to know that. So we can do const last updated item index, and then there's an array method for this, so we can just do items find index, and then like I said, this is kind of brittle code, but I said like we're just hacking, so this code would probably need to be thought of more. Like we could do like this is the MVP, but then if you're really making this, first thing you want to do, you want to make it work, and then you can go and refactor the code to make it more like robust. So we're doing the first step of just making it work. So text, let's see. So equals text equals last updated item. So let's just console log this. So now if I check something like this one, and then I hold shift, -1. Why did it say -1? Okay, so I got a bug in my code. So let's see. Let's see. Let's console log both of these. Let's do this. Okay. Do this. Oops, what did I do now? That's checked. Oh no. Oh. So it starts off at no, so it was exploding because it was going no dot checked. So also from the other weeks, we learned about the optional chaining. Let's see, I'll do this. So why did it go to -1? So find index.
I think text is an object, right? So you got to do text.text.
Oh, I am a dummy. Thank you. I meant to destructure this. So thank you. So now it's saying 2. That's correct. See, 0, 1, 2 is the index of the last item. Okay, that's what I wanted. So let's get this back. So now we have to do we need to do it in order because I want to do like a for loop. So I do min index equals math dot min clicked item index last updated item index max index. Oh, not max. Let's call it start index and index equals math dot max. So now we got the start and the end, and then we can loop over all the items. So instead of doing, we can do a map again. So it's going to be the same thing, but the logic in the map is going to be a little bit different. Okay, so we can copy this to start. And then we can do set. Now I'm just going to put the same thing. And then we'll reset it. So after you do this, selecting multiple, we'll reset the last item to null because we only want to keep track of that like if you're in the first step of selecting multiple items. But if you're in the second step, after that step, we want to reset it to be null. At least that's what I'm thinking. So we go here and then we say, let's just get rid of this. So in here, so now what do we say? We wanna, if index is less than start index or index is greater than end index. Okay, That's actually the ternary. So if that's the case, then we return the item, else return. Let's see if I screwed that up. Okay, wait. Clicked, checked. So we need the checked. Or we don't need the checked. We're setting it to true. That's why. So let's see if our logic is correct. So I click this one. I'm gonna hold shift and then click this one. Booyah! Let's see. Check this one. Check this one. Boom. Let's go the opposite way. Let's go click this one and then hold shift. Boom. Done. Okay, I did that at like turbo speed because we're already like past 9 o'clock. But I can stick around and answer questions if you're confused about anything I was doing, or if you think my algorithm sucks and you have a better one. We could talk about that too, or we can talk about anything you guys want. Now I can stick around for a while.
So Sam, so that tertiary operator, it has to take 3 operands.
Yeah, it's a ternary operator.
Oh, sorry.
So
Okay.
ternary operator is when you want to return one thing or another thing based on a conditional. So you're saying if the index and the clicked item index is equal, then return this. Else return this. It's a like shorter syntax than doing like if else.
Okay, but it does require to have a true and a false, meaning I can't do, you know, like you could do an if where you can say if this is true, just return that, and you don't have to, and you can move forward. But with that, you have to return, you have to, I guess, have a true and a false value. Right.
Wait, could you say that again just to make sure I answer correctly?
Yeah, so I know when, like, if you do an if, I can just do like an if true and then return whatever that is. I don't have to do the else with
this
it.
This is a shorter syntax, so you don't have to say if something return this, else return this other thing. This does it all in one line.
Correct. So if I didn't need that, you know, in that line 24, if I wanted to take items, that colon items out and just have the spread item comma check, that would throw an error, or would that work?
You always need all 3. You need the conditional, and then you need the, if the conditional is true, you return this, colon, the next thing is like the else. So it's like,
okay, yeah, that's where that's where my confusion was. I didn't, you know, I know that if you don't have to have an else, but
generally you use the ternary if the line is not too complicated. Like this line is kind of long, but it's still pretty readable in my opinion to like keep it as a ternary. Also, so if it's complicated, you might want to break it up into if else statements because it might improve readability. There's no hard rules. You kind of just gotta like think about it. Like, is this hard to understand? If it is, maybe you gotta figure out a different way, because JavaScript gives you different ways to write the code, right? Everything you want to do, there's like pretty much lots of different ways to do it. Ternaries are only good for like returning values. You don't want to use it for any type of if else kind of statement. Like sometimes you're doing like, if something's true, then you do a bunch of code. You don't want to use a ternary for that, even though you can. That's like an anti-pattern. That makes the code hard to read. Ternaries are for, if this conditional is true, then you want to return this value. Either you're returning the value from a function or you're setting a variable to the result of the ternary. You don't want to be like, if this ternary 2 is true, execute this like JavaScript code and do something. That's like an anti-pattern in JavaScript. It's only for setting variables and returning variables. And also it's highly discouraged to do nested ternaries, because that's like super hard to like mentally like think about. Like when you have a ternary and you say, if this conditional is true, and then you have another ternary in that next part. Some people do that and it just, you stare at the code and it makes it, it's super annoying when you see that in code, because you're like, why did the person do this? Like, how do, it makes the code super hard to debug. Like when there's bugs, nested ternary code is like the worst.
Hey, that's like Excel if statements.
What is that? What is that? You cut out.
That's like
Oh, your
Excel
audio
if
gone.
statements.
Is that Claude? Who's that speaking? Oh,
It is
no,
Claude. He's turning into a robot right now.
yeah, we lost you, Claude. Your audio's not working too good. Maybe you can try to reconnect. Did I miss anything in the chat? I wasn't paying attention since I was like typing so much. Was there any questions that I missed?
Just comments.
We'll see if we can get Claude back. But any other questions or comments about what we did?
One double ternary. Hard to read one.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. I'm just showing bad example because you were talking about it. So something I found.
So
there may be exceptions, but like for me, that's kind of a hard rule. Like I hate double nested ternaries just because it makes my brain have to like think. Like you don't want to think, you want to just read the code like you're reading like English. That's how you know the code is beautiful.
Sam, you mentioned earlier too that you use, like when you do your to-dos and it's end of the day, that you do a whip. Do you also use the git stash command as well?
No, because I might forget. I'm not gonna remember like what I stashed and stuff. I prefer to commit whip. I don't usually push it up though, at least at my current workplace. I just commit it as a whip locally, and then I do a git reset soft. So I could have just git stash, but like I always do git log. Like when I log on my computer, I git log, and then this is easier to remember. I git log and I see whip, and then I just reset soft so that it pops back onto the stage. Like for me, that's safer because then like I just git stash. I like forget like what I stash, and then just not my normal flow. Sometimes I use git stash a lot, but like not for that scenario that you described. I don't do it a lot. Like at the end of the day, if I'm not finished what I'm working on and I can't figure out a good point to like commit something because I was just playing around with stuff like how we're doing now. Like for doing React, sometimes you have to like just play around with a bunch of ideas, and then you're like, oh, that's a good way to do it. Like sometimes it's hard to like plan it all out like on the whiteboard or in your head. Sometimes you gotta just like start like throwing stuff on the screen and just playing around, console logging. Like you saw how like I would usually probably go faster than that. Like, and if you watch like George Hotz, like I don't know if anybody watches his live streams. I highly recommend it often too, because he goes on these like crazy rants. And if you don't know who George Hotz is, he's the guy who like hacked the iPhone long time ago, and he made like a self-driving car like by himself at like a hackathon. And now he's like he runs Comma AI, so he makes like is the biggest competitor to Tesla in like an open source kind of way. He's making like these like phones you can just put on any car and like make it into a self-driving car. But he does like these Twitch streams for like 5 hours. And when you watch him code, it's crazy because he just like starts typing all kinds of stuff. And it looks like he does when I first started watching him, I thought this guy was a genius. And it doesn't seem like he knows how to code. Like when he's first starting, he's just like typing all kinds of stuff and Googling all kinds of stuff. but by the end of the stream, like he makes like something super awesome. That's just his style, where he's just trying like all kinds of stuff. He's like a machine learning algorithm. He's just like trying all kinds of stuff, and then once he figure out what works, then he puts it all together and then it just works. That's like, sometimes it's easier to get stuff to work that way. Like, don't think about it too hard. Just like, what if I do this? 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 That's a good way to learn about like all the different stuff you can do. That's why I like Code Sandbox, because Code Sandbox makes it easy. Because like anytime you think of anything, you're like, I wonder if I can do this. Just open Code Sandbox and try, see if you can do that with, even if you want to just try out a library real quick, you can just do that real quick. Sometimes I just open a web page and I open the developer console and I just start typing in the developer console to test out like some idea that like popped into my head.
Oh, and Sam, what was his name again?
George Hotz, I can give you his Twitch stream. I haven't been watching it lately though. I've like got into like something. I got into some, what is that?
I found his YouTube archive.
Oh, some people repost it on YouTube, but you can watch it live on Twitch. I don't know if he's been posting it, but like, I used to just watch his streams and I would just like get popcorn and like just sit down and watch this guy code for hours. And it's actually really entertaining because he's like a super genius, but he has like super strong opinions about all kinds of shit. And he just like talks shit about like all the companies. He's like, all the self-driving car companies are gonna fail. Only Tesla is gonna figure it out. And like he's talking about why all the companies suck and the way that what they're doing is stupid. And it's super funny. He's like, they're all wasting money. Google's like wasting so much money on Waymo and stuff like that. So it's pretty, I find it entertaining. But I like gravitate to these kind of people. So like, it might not be entertaining to you. It's just, I find these kind of people like really interesting. So it's entertaining to me. So, I mean, so some coding live streams are pretty good. Ben Awad's pretty good too. I've never watched it live though. I watch some of his YouTube like later on. I don't know if he has a Twitch. Twitch gives you like notifications when the person is streaming, or like if I'm bored, maybe I'll just like pop up in Twitch and it will show you who's streaming live. It's more entertaining when you watch it live because the chat is like going and people are just like trolling and stuff. It's more entertaining. The only thing I don't like about Twitch is there's so many commercials. Like they're streaming, and then in order to not get a commercial, you have to like subscribe to the specific streamer. With YouTube, I've subscribed to YouTube, but I only pay a monthly fee and I don't get ads at all for anybody's thing that I watch. But on Twitch, in order to not get ads, you have to subscribe to every single person that you watch. And it's super expensive. So I can't think of a specific clip of George's videos. He always just goes on rants. He's just in his apartment and he'll just stream for like 5 hours. Or sometimes he's not even in his apartment. Sometimes he's like walking in the park and stuff like that. And so those he's not coding, he's just ranting about stuff. But like he's like a genius, super opinionated person. So I mean, I don't agree with all of his opinion, but it's still entertaining, even though I don't agree with all of his opinions. I agree with mostly what he says about self-driving cars though, because I worked for years in companies that are working on like self-driving car kind of stuff. And I also think Tesla's gonna win, but I don't know, we'll see. It's a hot race. Everybody's trying to be the first to get their self-driving car.
There's also
yeah.
a self-driving truck.
I mean, that's the same thing. Like, as long as somebody can make a self-driving car that can drive in any conditions and not just like in a specific area, that's the grand prize right now. If somebody figures that out, that company is going to be the biggest company in the world, like by market cap value. So
Sam, have you ever watched William Lin?
no, I never heard of that person.
I'll send you that. It's he's seven, I think he's 17, but he does I guess what is it, competitive programming.
I'm not really into that though. I'm not into like algorithms and stuff like that. Like leak code and shit like that, that's not my jam. I hate that stuff. I don't focus on that. I like working with React and making stuff. I'm a front-end developer. This is what I do all day. I don't write A-star search. I don't write crazy graphing algorithms to like efficiently find all your friends. So I'd be wasting my time if I do that. I'd better spend, my time is better spent just like hanging out with you guys doing this, because this even helps me. Like even though it's always good, even though you've been coding for a long time, to go back to fundamentals. So, and it's just fun to me to just take these JavaScript 30. I really like JavaScript 30. So now it's fun to like try and convert them to like React, because
Yeah,
I really like React.
Because it's like Angular and some of the other frameworks I'm interested too, and just kind of doing what you're doing here with React would be really beneficial to see if I can rebuild those 30 days in Vue or Go or Angular or even Amber.js.
That might be fun, but I would definitely try and do it in vanilla first. Like I've done JavaScript 30, or I've watched the videos many times. I don't usually do all the exercises. Like previously, when I would go into interviews, I would just watch the videos again. But like, I don't really do that anymore. Because I don't know. But I used to do that every time before I went into a round of interviews. I would watch JavaScript 30. Like the day before I went into the interview, I would just like watch all 30 videos, just so I have it fresh in my brain. Because a lot of times for front end, you gotta like go to the interview and you have to live code something that they tell you to make. And I can go faster if I have all this JavaScript 30 fundamental stuff like in my brain. So, because Westboss is awesome. I don't like, but like I said, I don't like the way he does some of the stuff, so I just do it my own way. Like, if you look at my code, is kind of similar to the way he did it, but like it's still different. Like he did it in like all in one function, and then I find it cleaner to like break it up into multiple functions like this. My brain can think about this. It makes it easier for me to understand. Like I've thought about the logic of when I need to execute this, and then now this function is easy to read. I'm just saying, when the logic that I thought about happens, then I update multiple items. Now I broke that off into a specific function, and then in that function, I can just figure out how to implement that logic. And then I just move the code that we had in this function and put it in another function. So my brain thinks about it easier, even though it'd be less lines of code if we just did it all in this one function. I think this is much easier to like understand.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate that. Thanks, Sam, and everybody else. Really helpful.
No problem. Any other questions? How's it, Kevin? How you doing? I don't know if people saw. Kevin was he was one of the people that I did the mock interviews with. I should start doing that again. I never did one in a long time. So if people never, if people want to see that, it's on my YouTube channel.